Joining us now, former FBI Director James Comey. He's the author of the new book entitled Westport, a crime novel. And welcome back to the show. We'll get to your novel in just a moment. It's good to have you on. I'd love to ask you this question. Given everything this country has been through since the run-up to the 2016 election, which I know you've been asked repeatedly about your choices and actions before the 2016 election, and you have answered you did what you thought you had to do. But given the magnitude of all the counts against Donald Trump, 87, plus the civil lawsuits and liabilities that have been put on him, do you think there are any areas where, if so, is the law falling short in the prosecution of Donald Trump?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for having me on. I think the law could move more quickly, especially in the classified documents case in Florida. The case could move more quickly in the appeals process in the January 6th federal case. But I actually think overall the law has passed its stress test over the last 5 years. The Manhattan case is showing the American people this is how it works. This is what the rule of law looks like.
So let's get your evaluation of what you've heard of the trial so far. It's in its closing hours. The defense may end up resting today, and then next week we'll get closing arguments and then to the jury. So verdict could come week, 10 days time, hard to say. As you've been watching it, what's your assessment of how the prosecution is done?
Much better than I expected, just having read the indictment. And of course, I've tried a lot of cases, right. So it's dangerous to talk about them when you haven't been in the courtroom for every moment. But this seems to have gone in very well, built brick by brick in a way that's not cross-examinable, with documents and texts and the defendant's own voice. Much better than I expected. And so I've told my family, from the outside, I would think there's a very high likelihood of conviction, smaller likelihood of a hung jury, very little likelihood approaching zero of an acquittal.
You know, Mr. Director, there's a strong possibility that Donald Trump may be reelected as president of the United States this fall. When you think about it, given your vast experience in the Justice Department and as head of the FBI, what are the principal points of danger within the Justice Department if there's another Trump presidency, given his nature, given what you know about him?
He is a threat to the rule of law in America. To me, that's what this election is about. Not about policy differences. It's about what kind of country are we going to be. If he has the ability, smarter than he was last time, to use the power of the Department of Justice and the FBI to target his enemies especially, the rule of law in America will change in a way we haven't seen in our lifetime.
When you say target his enemies, how would he do that?
Well, I think the first thing he would do is he would express it in his first term as a wish. I want people to go after so-and-so. I want people to go after Andrew McCabe, the former deputy director of the FBI. In his second term, he would go a step further, I'm highly confident, and say, I want him criminally investigated. And he was close to the bottom of the barrel in his appointees last time. He'll be at the very bottom. And those are the people who carry out that order.
And they're there to protect him, not the Constitution or the rule of law. That'll be the first litmus test. Are you loyal to me? And everything flows from there. There is an assumption, Mr. Director, that if he is reelected, he can just make all of these cases go away, the federal cases around January 6th, election interference, around the classified documents as well. Is that your read of it? If he is, when he's sworn in, if he is next January, let's say, for another term, that it all goes away?
Yes. I mean, the person who would incite a mob to sack the Capitol will dismiss the cases that are pending against him.
So who is that? He puts somebody in place who just makes it go away as Attorney General? Right, he puts an Attorney General in, or more likely he puts an acting in, who then dismisses Jack Smith, and they drop the indictments. Simple as that.
Mr. Director, you've spoken about the judiciary. We know that Donald Trump, when he comes back, has plans to do this thing called Schedule F, where he moves a whole load of civil servants to kind of at-will position and politicizes him. Do you think that could then change the nature of America's civil service writ large, and not just for the Trump presidency? Potentially, if he could do that, why wouldn't a future president do that too?
So yes, I do think that's where he will go, because what he missed last time is that the strength of America, its government, is in the middle layer.
Yeah, we're not just talking about the Attorney General, we're going right through, right?
Right. There's a middle layer that is an apolitical, professional cadre of people. And if you're going to fundamentally alter institutions, you've got to get rid of that middle layer of stability. That's where he will go. And it will have profound consequences, just not for the next 4 years, but for many years after that.
So, Mr. Director, you have found this new chapter, if you forgive the pun, in your career as a novelist, writing these books. Very successful first, Central Park West, For your latest, we've moved up 95, or the Merit, I guess, however you like to get up there, into Connecticut. Book titled Westport. Tell us about the story.
It's a murder whodunit that is situated in an enormous financial manager hedge fund in Westport, Connecticut, a New York suburb, for those who don't know the area. And it's my protagonist, Nora Carlton, is working at the hedge fund, and she finds herself accused of murder. It's I think for people, a very fun read that'll take them inside a world. It's fictionalized, but will show them what a part of the world they don't get to see is kind of like.
So how do you sit down and write one of these? I told you we had Harlan Coben on last week, the brilliant Harlan Coben, who is the cover blurb for this book as well. As someone who didn't have experience doing this in your past, how did you get into it, and how are you finding it?
With a lot of help, especially from my wife and my children, who give me loving but brutal feedback. And so
that's their job.
Yeah, it really is a joint effort. But I've always loved to write, and I can picture the people. My protagonist is a composite of 4 of my children, especially my oldest, who's a federal prosecutor. So I can close my eyes and hear her voice and write her much more easily. So it's a little bit of memory lane, a little bit of showing people what worlds are like that I know well, and with help to keep it on track from people who love me enough to tell me when I stink.
Well, it seems to be going well. You're getting good advice, apparently. The new thriller is titled Westport, a crime novel. It is on sale now. Author and former FBI Director James Comey, thanks for being here. Good to see you.
Great to be